Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Let's Build Daily. I'm your host, Chris Carolin. Today, I'm going to continue building out the demo data set based on my favorite gaming franchise, Final Fantasy. And today, we're going to be looking at companies, not only importing some company records. That's the easy part, really. But association, thinking through how we manage company records in general in HubSpot and how that could be changing, how that should be changing if you're thinking about the whole customer lifecycle and taking advantage of the whole customer platform. So, time to get organized. Start by giving HubSpot data to work with, like companies. After, you can sort, search, and filter to find what you need and hide what you don't. The less granular you are with your company records and your company information, the harder it is for HubSpot to do this for you. And so what we're going to do is we've got, all these contacts we brought in yesterday. And you might be thinking, well, usually if I bring in contacts, then the companies just automatically get created, right? So let's look at the company settings first of all, because there's a lot of automation, there's a lot of enrichment. Doesn't always work well, and we want it to work better. But I would argue that this is one of the places that we need to get manual. And let's talk about why. So this automation, create and associate companies with contacts. Associate current and newly added contacts with companies based on a contact's email address and a company's domain. All right, that's the part that everybody just wants to work. And if it is a single company with a single location and no affiliations with any other company, then that works. As soon as you have some other location or some other child company or some other entity that you need to keep track of, that does not work. And now you can either, try to figure out ways to work off of this one, or you can get manual with it. And what ends up happening is you just decide you don't want to be manual about it, but more contacts coming in, more information starts coming in that's related to the domain, and it's not working. So you got to shut this off, but you still haven't addressed the issue of proper parent-child. So this is a double-edged sword, and there's not a whole lot of ways outside of the domain that HubSpot or systems like it should even be able to help you. Because the crux that we're going to get to is that the information and data that you want visible to your team and to HubSpot to be able to automate with is how you define your relationship, your company's relationship, the people inside of your company's relationship with the other company and the people inside of that company. And no data enrichment tool is going to be able to do that for you because it's different inside of every company, right? Here we've got fill company properties using HubSpot Insights database. We know that's going to be getting better, and there's still value, obviously. It's just we've got to understand that there's a boundary of when that stops being helpful, and it relates to generally the strategy involved in interacting with other companies and the people inside. Associations, we're going to talk about that. We're going to skip this for now. And and move over to lifecycle stage. And this is a big change, right? Because this is where, and maybe this is why everybody has upsell, resell, cross-sell initiatives, but they can't ever get it done, because we want stuff like this to work too, right? Like this is based on, this mirrors the customer, right? So if you have one contact that buys something from a company, then the company and the contact both get moved to lifecycle stage customer. But what happens when the next person comes in and says, oh, I want to buy this other thing that this other department's not going to care about? As you add them into the system and they're associated with this company, it's the system wants you to see those things at the same life cycle stage, and they're just not, right? It's one of the reasons the new leads object is so powerful, in that one company could have, people or contacts you're dealing with throughout, the life cycle stages. And that's where upsell, cross-sell, resell comes in, right? Even the same person can be a customer last year, but now they're wanting to buy something new. So they're still a customer, but now they're also a lead. So just understanding that, we won't go into record customizations. So we got this list, and remember yesterday we're going to use the game as a company name, and in this case, we're going to do, that's going to be the child company, and in this scenario, with the parent company is going to be Square. Right, and right away, so the luxury of contacts and basing everything off of the email address is for the record name, between first name, last name, and email, you don't have to try and develop a naming convention. Most every other object or record in the system, you do, right? And this is where it can get super, super clunky and super messy, because as that same company comes into the system, like it's harder to deduplicate, because you want the system to do it for you, and it just can't, right? So bringing these in, and this is not like if these are all locations, then let's say in the real world, like if we have a location based in Houston, Texas, having a name Houston, Texas, right, could apply to lots of different organizations. So that wouldn't be like a good name. So usually there's some concatenating that I like to do, and it's not different from the local drives that you may have seen, where it's like, okay, customer A, click into the folder, and then it's customer A, location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? It's the same kind of naming convention in this case. So if we just do that here, we do a little concatenation, all right? And let's do here, what I want to do is actually so we want to start with the parent company name, and I'm going to add a little space dash space, and right here we're gonna take advantage of this acronym. All right, so now there we go. So now this will be our new company name, or let's say concat company name. And then we'll also add company owner. Now, if you only have one person and they're the one doing, the doing the importing, then HubSpot can automatically set this for you. But often record ownership is one of the most important things that if you can manage it inside of or out, like via the import, it can make things a lot easier. So I've got enough information to go on here because I want to do a lot of the work inside of the platform. So we'll just download this real quick. All right. And now I will come back to HubSpot and import, start an import. Again, one file. And again, until you do this, like there's lots of ways to associate, things into the system at the same time. But I really think a lot of instances could use a lot of TLC when it comes to company record management. And if you can kind of pretend for a little bit that you don't have data enriched, you don't have all these tools working for you, like it kind of forces you into, okay, what data do I need into the system? What data do I need in the system to support, managing relationships with this company? So I'm going to bring that in. Right. And now we have, so right off the bat, we have two different company names, right? And we're going to tell HubSpot that we don't want to import this one as is. We actually want to do something else with it. Which is, let's see, what do we want to do? Because what I want to do is, I'm just going to turn this off for a second. And of course, when I do that, it needs one of these properties, company domain or company name, to be able to create in the first place. But I'm going to use this, and I'm going to put that in company name. All right, and now we're good. See, HubSpot, at the end of the day, like, doesn't necessarily care what this is called. It just cares about what this HubSpot property is called. So now we've got two things that are mapped. And let's see what kind of dates we have here. All right. So I'm going to make a new property here. And since the date is in this number format, it wants to make a property type number. But that's not what I'm going to do. And I'm also going to change the label to let's see, like date founded. Right, company information. And now we actually want this to be a date. And any date, again, we have options here to apply some data validation rules, right? And now the problem I have is that these are not formatted month, day, year, right? And unless I do that, it's not going to work. So in this case, again, this speaks to the mapping that you should do prior to just throwing data into the system. So instead, we'll do some cleanup later. We're going to do like date of location opening. And we'll keep it as a number because we only want the year. We don't want the full date. And now we have different options for data validation. We've got parent company. I'm going to leave that out for now. And we've got company location acronym, which we had in the other system, are for contacts too. And you can often create some kind of semi-keys between these objects that can help align things inside the system. And this will be one of those things for us. And what I'm noticing is once you get in the system, there's machine learning or something's happening where the information on the surface makes it easier for HubSpot to make the right suggestions when you're doing things like associations. So keep that one like that. We're not going to import that one. And there's some things I was thinking about doing with this, but we'll save that for later in the interest of time. So we've got these 4 things, and we'll click next. And I'll finish the import. So we've got 17 rows, 17 new records, and got some cleanup imported data here. It doesn't see anything. So now we go to view companies. So that was obviously, messier than even I had planned. But the reason I want to, share it like raw like this is that the import process and the tool of HubSpot overall makes it easier to, let's say, just make mistakes, fail a little bit as you learn to do this stuff, but also get the thing done, right? Like I could pivot in the moment and create some stuff. And obviously that creates some maintenance like later on. But it's a balance of being able to move quickly, but also within a system that's easy to maintain and flexible, right? So now what was the thing that I did that I ended up kind of overriding during the process was making that company property of the date of founding. So let's clean that up. And again, this is why, as you look to either move into this system for the first time or, migrate, like it can help to go through some of this these processes, like in this way, just to understand what's available to you, how it works, how everything starts to fit together. But that at some point, sooner rather than later, you've got to map your processes, how you want the data to flow through the processes so that you can build the system that supports that. And again, there's a balance there too. Like, what can the system do? What does my process need to do? What does my customer experience need to look like? Right? Between those three things, uh, leaning towards customer experience, you're trying to build out this system that makes it easy for your people to use the tools and for the tools to help them to serve customers. All right. So we'll just look for our date founded, which was a date picker field, which we ended up not wanting to use. And we're going to archive that. All right. And then we've still got our other field. Let's see here. Yeah, date of location opening. And that's where we had stuff. So again, I hope it's valuable as I talk through these things, because again, this could be very simple. Like, let's say I didn't bring these in, I didn't add this, and now we've just got these names. And kind of the last thing I'll do to set up tomorrow is just a little bit of more thought that can go in to this process. It's really hard to do it without knowing how the process works. But when you can add that, now let's just create Square Enix as a company using their domain name. Right. So now we get all this information. This is what I mean when I say enrichment, right? We're going to create. And now we want to make all these child companies. So we're just going to add. And we're just going to check all these boxes. Right. And this is the value, again, the value of the flexibility of if you decide to do this, like the relationships, like the Final Fantasy VII location for some other vendor or some other partner that Square Enix works with, it means something different to them. So they might have a different naming convention in their system to support their processes. This is where data enrichment, you should not be counting on some automated system that tries to match IP address and domain names and like LinkedIn profiles. Like, this stuff matters to you and your team more than anybody else. So why would you rely on somebody else to define that data for you? Right. And once you do, you can get these tools working really well together to where now you can automate, you can use the automation that's in HubSpot much more effectively. Right. Even to the point of let's label all these things a little bit differently. Right. And now we can automate different communications to different places, to different people, because we've taken the time to associate this, properly. Assuming we had added those labels in this case. So tomorrow we'll focus on kind of these two between the companies and the contacts we've got in the system, and have some fun with associations, and talk about why they're important and show you, the flexibility, and why you need to be managing them better. All right. So until next time, so over the next day, think about and find those opportunities when it comes to company and contact associations, and let's grow. Have a good one, everybody.